let's get our recording going. All right, so good morning, everybody. It's good to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about is certification an important step for the modern project manager and the team? And this is kind of an interesting piece as we think about this, because depending on your organization and depending on where you are in the life of your career, it's going to make a difference on some of these decisions on what you're willing to do or what you're wanting to do. And so I've had people talk to me one-on-one about this, and they're trying for some coaching on how to be able to become a stronger project manager, or how to be able to move up at their organization with certifications, or how to change jobs. And so I thought, well, man, this would just be a good topic for us to talk about, because a lot of people are getting into the realm of project management, and then we've got some who are established, and then we've got some who are kind of on the setting sun side of project management about what they're going to be doing. So today we're talking about, is certification an important step for the modern project manager and the team? So let's look at a couple of things here. So the first thing I want to do is look at that there's three different things that we have to consider before we ever even look at the certifications themselves. And so the first thing that we're really needing to take a look at is what do I need now? And so this is going to be a little more connected to your current position in your organization, what your organization puts value on, if there is a value on certifications, and to kind of understand what your organization wants. Because obviously, wherever you are right now, that's what's paying the bills. That's where you are right now. You might be there 10 more years. You might be gone in 10 days. But whatever your organization wants, that's going to be the first step. And so your organization might want a particular type of certification. It might not even be one of them I talk about, but they want that certification for their people. They have put value in it. So you want to go in that direction, first off, because that's going to establish you where you are right now and give you some stability. After you've answered that, the next thing is, what will help me get promoted currently? So once again, you're still in the same organization. We're assuming that you're wanting to stay. And so you start thinking about, okay, what kind of certifications will give me an additional level of skill and expertise and demonstrate that to my current employer? And so that's going to cause you to kind of look around and see, okay, what does everyone else have? Is there a certification that would be a little bit more of a pedigree above somebody else? If I had those particular certifications, would my boss, would my company look at that as being something that was worthwhile? Or would it just be paperwork? And so that would be a piece that you would look at. And then the third side that you want to look at on certifications, what will qualify me for new opportunities? Those of you who have a long time to be in the workplace, you've got to be thinking about this. Even though you love where you work right now, you maybe love your company, love your boss, all those kind of things, you still have to kind of look at, okay, I want to always be versatile. I want to always be able to have options for myself, for my family, in case I want to make a move or whatever it is. And so you're always going to be looking at those types of things. So what would qualify me for new opportunities down the road? So you're really looking at all three of these as you're trying to come up with what is the best certification route for me. Now, let me say this before we get going here, okay? What your current company values might not be something that would qualify you for new opportunities down the road where you're wanting to go. Your current company might put a lot of emphasis on one particular or two particular type of certifications, and it might be a certification that's not even in the mainstream, but it's important to that industry or important to your company. And so you find yourself picking that certification up because, once again, you're trying to be connected with that company. So that's okay. That's going to connect you with that company. But down the road, you might be thinking, okay, I want this certification because I really want to move more in this particular area. Let me just give you a quick example. I'm anxious to see who is going to roll out the best AI certifications for artificial intelligence and project management. You know as well as I do, many of you are already working in this. Somebody is going to be rolling this out. And so you're going to be looking at who's going to be putting their stamp of approval on a certification for AI that's going to have competencies that allow us to be able to utilize it in a project setting. So I'm anxious to see if PMI would roll it out, because you've got the credibility of PMI, and then you've got the credibility of their certification. So I'm anxious to see who that is. A lot have rolled out some certificate programs. A lot of your universities have actually rolled some of that out, but that's one that's coming down the line. I'm anxious to see who's going to go in that direction. So let's lay some foundation for certifications. Why is it important? Certifications have gone through a huge pendulum swing, as you know, to where organizations have really gotten on top of wanting their people to show some type of rigor in their knowledge base and what they know. And so because of that, what's happened is certifications have kind of exploded. And so some certifications, obviously, for some people in some industries might even be looked at as being a higher caliber or lesser caliber. And that's okay. The point is that you want to know what you want to pick for those. So a couple of things I thought was interesting. Let me show you some foundations. So number of project managers. There's some 16 million project managers in the world. Jira is considered to be the leading software at about 39%. 44% of the project managers do not use any kind of software. And so the reason why I hit this on software, some people are getting software certified as a project manager. So they are a project manager and Microsoft Project certified. Nothing wrong with that. Don't mistake what I'm saying. But many have gone the software route to show it for their certification. And that's fine if that's what your company endorses. But down the road, you might find yourself looking at that and thinking, okay, that might not be the certification you want for other opportunities and to keep yourself marketable in the industry. 234,883 project manager jobs are open each year. And if you're monitoring Indeed, you probably have noticed how many of these have been remote project managers, and notice what they're asking for. Most of them are asking for some type of certification or dual certifications of their project managers to be able to work remotely on their job and on their projects. So in 7 years, the expectation is that 87.7 million employees will be needed to work in the project management field. So that's one of the reasons why people are kind of going in the direction of certifications, is it looks like that these people have a little bit more rigor, a little bit more knowledge. Now, you and I both know that not everybody who has a certification automatically can run the project as good as somebody who maybe does not have the certification. So let's kind of clear the air with that. Okay, it might not. But we've got to have some kind of criteria in trying to select one candidate over another when everything looks equal. And certifications happens to be a part of that. Average salary of a project manager across the country is about $90,000. And so PMP holders make up about 23%, and PMP holders receive about 23% more money than non-PMPs. And so that's your project management professional certification. So that right there, that one bullet point right there is why so many people are launching out to get the PMP certification. Overall, and it might not be that way with your organization, but overall, the PMP certification is kind of the Cadillac, and has been for like the last 25 years. But the PMP certification is kind of the Cadillac out here of project management. The certification is a super comprehensive certification. It's time consuming to be able to do it. You have to have at least 3 years experience in order to even qualify for a PMP. And so it's going to be something that's going to be very rigorous for you to get. Agile on the back end of this, Agile/Scrum, let me say it like that, Agile style organizations grow about 37% faster than non-Agile ones. And because of that, you're starting to see now a large influx of Agile/Scrum certifications, to where people are realizing that they're wanting to use Agile or specifically Scrum to be able to explode their marketing, to be able to explode their product development, and to be able to do those things. Team communication is 52% better when using project software. And so this was a software statistics that I was pulling from this year, but it had a lot of the project management stuff in it. So I want to give these folks due credit because I was pulling from their particular material. Now, Project Management Institute in January of this year rolled out an article talking about the benefits of the PMP certification. So let's start there, since that is looked at as the Cadillac credential, okay? So benefits of this include industry recognition, learning new skills, increased job prospects, higher earning potential. Now, a lot of times people will have doubts about this, and I get it. In 2008, when the recession hit, we had people who had 30 years of project management experience, but no PMP, get beat out on jobs who had 15 years experience and a PMP. Now, obviously, that's not going to be necessarily across the board, and it's going to be industry specific based on what the industry is looking for and what these particular people were looking for. But I heard that in classes over and over again when you would see a very experienced project manager say, I'm getting my PMP because I'm tired of getting beat out by people who already have their PMP. And I get that. And so those organizations that they were applying to had put that level of that checkbox that they wanted somebody with a PMP to show that they understood the rigor. According to the report from Project Management Institute in the US, they earn about a median salary of $123,000 if you have a PMP. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee of anything like that. But across the board, you will see organizations, especially consulting organizations, they might charge more to their client for a PMP than a non-PMP. And so we've heard that for a number of years where people are able to justify a little bit of a higher fee for that. But that's not always the case either. So I don't want it to be 100% because we all know there's no such thing, okay? So, and as you look at the benefits, certifications highlight the expertise of a candidate, and it kind of makes those candidates stand out, especially if the certification makes sense to the industry. So it shows a dedication. It shows that the candidate cares about upgrading. And of course, in order to have a credential, you're going to find yourself having to upgrade, depending on the credential, every 2 years or every 3 years with more and more training to be able to keep that credential. Now, in most cases, I'm not going to say all because I'm not an expert on every certification, but most certifications do not require you to retake the test. They just require you to have some type of training that qualifies, that they look at as a qualified training block to be able to get those PDUs, CEUs, whatever they're counting as educational units. And so that allows you to be able to then stay certified in that particular area. Now, the benefit of the PMP is that there can be confirmation that knowledge one possesses. If you're going to pass the PMP test, it's not going to be something that's going to be just relatively quick. It's normally going to take a period of time of preparation for you. You are going to have improved marketability normally. All their surveys seem to show this with PMI. Normally, it's a higher earning potential. Normally, there's more credibility. Normally, you've got more respect from peers if your organization puts the stamp of approval on that. And you have maybe even an enhanced reputation. And the PMP today, 50% of your PMP test today is on traditional, but 50% is on agile right now. So PMI has even shifted the test to bring in those two main disciplines of project management so that when people are getting the newer PMPs, they've got somebody who has knowledge in both sides. But once again, it goes back to, does that organization put a stamp of approval or a requirement for the PMP? That's what's going to make the difference. And they might not. The main purpose for any kind of certification is to be able to demonstrate that level of competence. You're trying to minimize risk, and that's one of the ways of doing that. And so you're trying to demonstrate a level of confidence. It proves competence in some kind of documentation, some kind of testing, because someone has looked to see whether or not you have some experience. It can show compliance with industry standards. Some organizations actually in their contract will mandate that they have to have PMP people on the team, PMP project managers. And it creates some kind of standardization. It can address skill gaps and compliance with evolving trends. And we know that the big trend right now is certifications. Compared to 30 years ago, the trend was some certification, but it was mainly experience. They wanted you to demonstrate that you had had years of experience in project management. Today, they want experience, but they want the certification to be a component of it. So demonstration of competence. So certifications focus on the aspect of competence, which connects skills, knowledge, and the ability to apply the skills in an actual project setting. The PMP test is very heavy in this, making sure, giving you a scenario and asking you what to do. And that's what makes this test so stinking difficult, is that right there. Because sometimes what the answer to your test question is might not be what you'd want to do in real life, because of course you know everything. You know the culture and the people, and you've got relationships built. And sometimes that's a little bit of a challenge. Competence includes the behaviors, the attitudes, the possession of skills with applied skills. So a lot of these components get here. Now, don't leave me yet, because I've got a lot of certifications we're going to talk about very briefly here in just a little while. It proves confidence in documentation and testing. So when hiring or promoting a person, it can be challenging to determine if they're really skilled. And of course, the certification is just one element. It's not going to be the only one because you're going to have seen demonstration from that person, but it is one element that you can look at and think that they have proven their certification and proven their worth and their knowledge base with. And so what level of competence do they have? Now, the truth is, all of us should be growing in our industry all the time. All of us should be growing in our knowledge all the time. Whether we're certified or not, we should be updating our skills and upgrading our skills in order to stay competent. And you're going to see this explode in the next 18 months to 3 years because of AI. As AI comes into our organizations, the whole way we run projects is going to be adjusted just because of that one thing happening in our projects, because you're going to see it do some of the Mickey Mouse stuff that we're having to do right now with our projects. All right, so let's talk about some of the compliance. So shows compliance with industry standards. Depending on the type of certification you get, you will be complying with some type of standard. That standard is normally going to be part of an association. It could be a nonprofit association, or it could be some type of company out here that people look at as having a lot of respect for their certifications and their credentials. So industry standards are consistently updated and changing as newer technology evolves and as best practices are updated. And so what this shows is that if you're getting a certification through an organization that's looked at as a substantial organization, you're going to continue to grow and evolve as these best practices do. So which means that you're picking up new skills. You're coming in with new mindset from time to time of how we might do this. Organizations want to follow industry standards, and in most cases, they want their employees to have the same level of compliance. And people in a certain role have a specific certification. It reduces the risk of hiring incompetent people. And that's the main reason why people will do that and put a stipulation of some type of certification, is to say, okay, they at least have gone out of their way to pick up that other piece of certification to show that they have some knowledge in that area. By doing that, it reduces the risk that you're not hiring somebody who's great on paper but doesn't know anything about projects. So in standardization, so what are you wanting your people to do in the future? What standard do you want your people? Do you want everybody to have PMPs? Do you want everybody to be dual certified? Do you care about certifications? And of course, the flip side of that is, okay, can we afford to have that as a level of requirement? Because once again, normally if someone's got certifications, the idea is that you're going to be paying them a little bit more than somebody who maybe does not. And that might not seem fair to those who don't have certifications, but that's what you're looking at. It's a risk reduction kind of mindset is what it is. So standardization might be one of the discussions or thoughts that you have, and establishing a foundational level of training and certifications that the organization wants its staff to possess. And it depends on who your customer is. Is this going to bring clout to your customer that all of the people they're working with are PMPs or are Scrum certified or whatever the certification is, or black belt certified? Might make a huge difference to them. Might make a difference on what you can charge to those customers. Also, some will have certain certifications the worker must possess before they are hired, while others will build those standards into new employee onboarding. And so we have clients who, as soon as the person gets hired, they're sent just as soon as they qualify to pick up a certification. And so they want them certified, but not before they hire them. They kind of hire them and kind of cultivate them their way with their training and things of this nature. So this brings you into that idea of the skill gap. So do I want the skills and we build them? Or do I want am I okay with the skill gap and we build it into them? Or do I want them to come in with those skills and certifications? And both have advantages for you as an organization. Older organizations will see processes and shifts in the industry, and to stay competitive, the employees must receive new training, new skills. That's one of the reasons why so many people are starting to tap in on this, and they're using this as part of their training every month with their people. They know it's PMP certified, or I'm sorry, PMI certified. They know that it's going to be on a topic, a project management topic. So without new skills, the employee becomes outdated and will use old methods for working or completing a program. Certifications are one way of addressing these gaps. So, but once again, the certification has to make sense. You don't have just endless money to pay for somebody to be certified. And at the same time, let's call it the way it is, You're not wanting to get someone all certified only to have them leave your organization and you've got thousands of dollars in certifications in them, because you're wanting that to be able to benefit you and your organization is what you're wanting to do. So this brings you into where you're trying to comply with some trends too. Your millennials are very certification oriented. They're looking for organizations that's going to invest in them, and then that's going to cause them to stay longer in many cases. And so evolving trends happen within the industry as new materials, new processes, new technology changes the business. And it's from this aspect that I think AI is going to change the nature of the beast of how so many things are that we do. You hear all the negative happening, but you're going to be part of the projects and part of the solution of how to make it work in a positive manner. So evolving trends influence the certification pool. And that's the reason why I anticipate that within 3 years, you're going to see some mainstream artificial intelligence certification in project management coming along. So some of these industries, PMI might be the one, I don't know, might be the ones who bring this out, and because they see that this is one of the tools that's needing to be there for organizations. So which certification to choose? That's what it always comes down to. So talk to some certified people in your industry, within the industry you're working in. For many, you'll find that there are certain certifications that they want. For an example, we do training with power plants. And so I've got some power plant people, I'm sure, on the call too. But power plants, so many of our engineers have a PE. They're a practicing engineer so they have an engineering certification. So there's not anything wrong with that at all. That's exactly very much part of their industry. But then a lot of times what you'll see is that their organization will talk to them about picking up their PMP. So now they've got their PE, but they've got their PMP as well. Well, why did they do that? Well, the PE obviously qualified them and gave them their credential as an engineer, but they wanted them also to be updated as a PMP to show that they could run projects as well. And so that engineer now has double certifications for that, and that's what that industry is wanting. Your industry might want something a little different, and might want 3 different certifications, and that's okay. The key here is going to be find out what your industry wants and needs for the current job. HR a lot of times will have insights into this, but you probably will start hearing about it from other coworkers. You can also research certifications if it's on the news side and you haven't thought about certifications. You can start researching certifications and trying to decide which ones will fit you and where you're trying to go long term. And then determine which certification would help position you for the new job or raise or promotion or the current job, so that you stand out and you've got a solid footing right where you are. I'm going to throw some ideas at you today. So here's one of the first things you have to decide. When you look at a certification, some certifications are going to require an exam, some are not. And so you have to be comfortable with the exam. The PMP is one of the toughest ones, I think, but I'm not a good exam taker. And so the PMP is one that it's going to have an exam, and it's going to be very comprehensive, 180 questions, 230 minutes. And so it's going to be very comprehensive. However, you can pass that test if you do the right things and get prepped for it. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to take any kind of exams, then you're having to look for credentials that are not going to require an exam. And so that means that that's going to be a question you're going to be asking so many of these. So I'll mention a few of those today for you to take a look at. The certifications is a big business out here, and so you're trying to make sure that you align with someone who is doing it for a reputable organization. Some of these companies will roll out their own certification, which is worthless. It's just a certification by a local company, and so it doesn't mean anything. You've attended training, but it's not connected to an association. It's not connected to one of the big dominant powerhouses of project management or something. So they have to be connected to a reputable organization. And normally you want to look at something that's going to have a higher demand, because for you to have the prestige of the certification, you're wanting a higher demand certification too. So you're going to have to do your research on that to look at it worldwide and being able to do this. So you're trying to answer the following questions. So let me give you some of the questions when I started this years ago. Number one, what do I want the certification to do for me? And that's one of the first things you're trying to do. So is it trying to give you credibility where you are? Or is it you trying to get a promotion? Or you think, you know what, I'm getting ready to retire. I want to do a little consulting. What credential do I need for that side of it? I get it. all of us have something different depending on where we are in our life. Okay. So the point is that I think that's a real question. Second, will my current employer benefit from the certification, or will this help me more if I leave? And so that's one of the things that happens sometimes. So let's say you love your current employer, but they're not going to pay for it. So you're looking at, okay, can I justify that pay for myself to get that certification? What you're wanting to do in most of these certifications is have them before you need them. Okay. If you have them before you need them, then when something happens that you have an opportunity or you want to make a move, your resume is ready to go and you're ready to be able to talk to somebody to make that move. Millennials always think like that. Millennials are always updating their resume. They're always ready in case that opening happens. And so we want to make sure we do that. Question number 3, what areas of interest do I want to hold a certification in and ultimately spend more time working on in the future? Now, project management is something I get excited about, and so I love it. I think it's exciting. It's something I love. But not everybody's going to love project management. You guys that are on here, you probably love it too. But as you know, people look at our stuff as boring. Okay, they look at our stuff as mundane. But it's pretty exciting to me. But if you don't like project management, then doggone it, don't get a certification in project management. Pick it up in quality. If you like the quality piece and hate running projects, pick it up. Pick a quality certification up, or pick up the Six Sigma certifications. And nothing wrong with those in project management, but change your emphasis to where you've got something to where you're not in mainline projects. So what areas of interest? Next, what are the recertification requirements? You want something that's going to be realistic. Most of the reputable ones will have you recertify every 2 to 3 years. There'll be a fee, but there'll normally be some educational requirements, which is not a big deal today. You're going to pick them up through virtual, or you're going to attend a conference, or you're going to attend local chapters and be able to pick those up. And then the last question here is, will this certification be an important addition in the future? And that's what you're trying to do. You're not wanting to invest thousands of dollars into a certification and then wonder whether or not you've wasted that because nobody knows of that what that credential is, or nobody knows the organization it came from. I'll give you an example just this week. In researching AI certifications, I was going to add them to this, but there's not really anything out there I feel comfortable talking about. I saw one organization that was going to charge $2,500 to pick up the AI certification. Well, that's fine. That's, and I think that price will probably be within the range of what somebody will do, but I never heard of the organization before. And so since I never heard of the organization before, I started looking for how many people they had pumped out with that certification, or with any certification. I couldn't find anything. So here's what goes through my mind. Maybe wrong. What goes through my mind is are they rolling out certification for $2,500 and they've never done any other certifications before? How reputable are they? So I wouldn't want to put $2,500 in it. I'll wait till there's something that makes more sense to me. Okay, so picking a certification. So here's some direction. So here's the process. What's the industry reputation? Complexity of the qualification requirements. Because once again, you're going to be producing this, and you might be even audited for some of these. Some of these will actually audit you. And so how are you going to win that audit and show in that audit you have the expertise for this? So you're not wanting something that's going to be borderline for you. Okay, so you're wanting something that you think, okay, I know I can present documents if I needed to for this. And then challenge of the test. If you do take one that has a test, how hard is the test? And of course, if it's a reputable certification, you're going to find other people who've taken that test. How hard is the test? And so like for an example, PMP is very difficult because it's a perfect world setting. It's a perfect team, perfect project manager. And there's certain things that PMI expects us to be able to do in those situations. So it's once you get all that down, it's okay. But a lot of times we're not in a perfect setting. And then you're looking at the cost. What's the cost to not only get the certification, what's the cost to keep myself certified? Because as I said, you're probably going to be recertifying every 2 to 3 years. So you have to think about the wear and tear of, okay, where am I having to go to even pick up these hours? If they have a small pool of who they're going to accept compared to a bigger pool that's going to accept those hours. Like PMI, as a provider, you're getting hours here, you're getting hours for running your projects. There's providers and classes that PMI will accept toward that. So it's pretty easy for you to get your 60 PDUs every 3 years on it. And then decide to pick up the certification. What order do you need to pick them up in, and how are you going to do that? So these are kind of the steps you're going to find yourself going through. And you say, well, I don't really know. I get it. That's why you're going to research it to say, I think this is the route that I'm going to go and do for me. So why do people actually struggle with that idea or fight against getting certified? Certifications are here today. And of course, not if you don't want to be certified, that's your call. But I do think that you might be leaving something on the table that could help you down the road, maybe for a promotion. We've seen people promoted just by getting certified. Or it could be a situation where you wanted to make a move, and you know what, you weren't qualified because of that certification. And as much as you might disagree with it and you think of, I got all this experience, the point is you're not controlling what their criteria is on their side. If they say a certification, then they're looking for that checkbox right there. So here's some of the things just to consider about this. One of the reasons why I think people kind of drag their feet on certification is the fear, unsure about passing a test. Let's start with it. Unsure about passing a test. Well, not every one of these have a test. Now, the PMP does, but you can pass that test if you get connected to somebody who can help you pass it. So you're going to be going to a boot camp, but not every one of these certifications have a test. So finding that out might ease your idea on something like that. Concerned about new responsibilities. If I do have the certification, is my current employer now going to give me new responsibilities that I'm not really wanting to have? Or repercussions for failing. If I do fail the test, am I going to be humiliated? Well, you know what? People do fail these tests if they have a test. But you know what? You probably are equally as smart as somebody else who has also passed as well. It's preparation, it's regurgitation of the material, and drink the Kool-Aid. You know, you're not trying to fit it into work for you every day. You're trying to get the knowledge to pass the test. So you drink the Kool-Aid and answer it their way. And then fear of learning new processes. People are fearful of am I going to be able to remember all this stuff? Well, you'll be able to. You will have to, it'll be repetition, and you'll have to get yourself learning all of these. But yeah, you'll learn that, and it'll be good for you. Now let's talk about some specific certifications. This isn't near all of them. We wouldn't have time. And I'm not an expert on every certification, but these are some of the mainline certifications that we need to look at, okay? So first off, types of certifications. One of the types of certifications that you might not be aware of that PMI has rolled out, you can find it at pmi.org, is it's called, you have macro and micro certifications. So a macro certification focuses on common mainstream. So you'll see this in a lot of places. Project management is one of those. Marketing, leadership, project management. So the PMP would be one of these. It's a macro certification, meaning it's international. People all over the world hold this, and so you have several million, a couple of million people who have the PMP certification, and so that would be one that's international. Marketing has their own certification, leadership has their own certifications, and so you see that and you hear that with people. HR has their own certifications, but they also have what's called micro certifications, and so PMI is starting to put those together just in the last few years. And so if you've been to their site, you can pick up a micro certification. Very short-term training for the certification, and it will be a very minimal test in most cases. So risk management has one for PMI right now, to where you can have a micro certification in risk. So you have a very short course. I mean, when I say short, most of the time around 5 hours or 6 hour course, and you pick up a micro certification. Hybrid project management has one as well for PMI. It was a 5 hour course, and even artificial intelligence. They have a free artificial intelligence on PMI site right now. It's called generative AI. And so it costs you nothing for, if you're a member of PMI. It's 5 hours long, and you picked up a micro certification on artificial intelligence. So that right there is something that you ought to be running out to get, because it's not going to cost you anything. And it was a great course. I thought whoever did it was really good, and it gave you fundamentals of artificial intelligence. So that might make a difference on giving you stair steps to get there. Maybe you don't qualify for a macro certifications such as the PMP or even any of those, but you can pick up some of the smaller certifications. Let's go a little further. So let's talk about the PMP first and give you some details. This is the most popular. I said it's endorsed throughout the world. It is comprehensive with both Agile and traditional project management into it. Half the test is Agile. It's updated with the newest project methods. They're working on PMBOK 8. They're sending out, if you remember, you probably got a letter or a notice in an email yesterday. They're looking for people to work on PMBOK 8. So it's a 3-year experience to qualify for this. And so, so they've made adjustments, and so they've adjusted it. So 3-year experience. The test just changed in 2022. Made a couple of other adjustments since then. So the test is much more realistic, not as heavy in calculation. So the PMP is a much more viable certification for someone to get now than ever before. But let's say the PMP is not right for you, not right for your organization. Let's change gears and talk about Scrum. Certified Scrum Master. Certified Scrum Master is very popular today. Hundreds of thousands of people are picking this certification up. It's driven by the scrumalliance.org. A great organization. This certification is one of those that does not, well, the first one did. This one required a real light test. And so it was a book test. And so you had an open book test to take this certification. The requirements for your CSM is very minimal in the area of Scrum. And so running Scrum or Agile, it's very minimal experience to qualify for it. It's looked at as an entry-level certification, and it's basically a 2-day course. So if you've got some Agile and Scrum training or some Agile and Scrum experience, and you want this certification, then you attend a 2-day class, and that 2-day class at the end, you'll have on this one, you have an open book test, and then you've got the certification. You have to recertify. I think it's every 2 years for this, but it's endorsed throughout the world. Great certification. It's on the lower side, looked at as entry level. And so most people with some Agile would be able to qualify for something like this. The Advanced Certified Scrum Master. This is still with Scrum Alliance. This is also a 2-day certification, but obviously you have to have more experience. So you have to do this in order. So your Certified Scrum Master is the lowest. Now we're talking about the Advanced Certified Scrum Master. And so here it's got all the same things. Scrum Alliance, endorsed throughout the world, 2-day certification. Training is what you would attend. I didn't take a test on this. There was no test. You attended the 2 days of training, you picked up the certification. And so it was great training and a lot of application. It was everything you did to show you were qualified was in the class working in teams or in the virtual class working in teams. But no test was associated with this. So it was an Advanced Certified Scrum Master. The third level is called the Certified Scrum Professional Scrum Master. And so when I picked this up, this is through Scrum Alliance as well. It's a 2-day course as well. Same thing. It's throughout the whole world and endorsed throughout the whole world. And you did everything in class. No tests to take. You demonstrated it in class. So as long as you attended the class and demonstrated it with your group, you qualified, you met the requirements for that with demonstration with your class. And I did this one virtually. And so in doing it virtually, you did everything in class in breakout groups on Zoom, and we can bounce back and forth. Did not take a test on this. There was no test. But obviously you need more experience for that. So those are your 3 levels on the Scrum Master side. Now let's go over on the product owner side. Some of you I know are the product owners. So the product owner is working with all the requirements and with the customer, and of course, handing that off to the team. So the lowest level for that is a certified product owner. So this is through Scrum Alliance as well. There was no test with this 2-day certification. It's endorsed throughout the world. And so everything was done in class in a breakout room. And so it was great because it was so much on the product and the outputs of that product. But that's your lowest level product owner certification. The next level was the Advanced Certified Product Owner. When we did this, it was really good, and we had great people working on a variety of products that was in the class worldwide. And once again, 2-day certification, endorsed throughout the world, no test because we did it in class, and everything we did was in those groups. And as long as our group produced what we were supposed to produce, we were all certified after we got out of it. You have to re-up every 2 years. And so this was another one. We didn't have to take a test. And then the highest level for the product owner side, Certified Professional Product Owner. And so this was another 2-day certification endorsed throughout the world. There was no test, but it was much more substantial in the classroom of what we had to produce. Excellent class. And it was an excellent way of being able to just get an vision what other people are doing on their projects and with their projects. So it was really, really interesting. But once again, no test. Everything we did was in class for that. So I want you to see those, because those of you who hate taking tests, there's 6 certifications right there that are Scrum Alliance certifications that only one of those did we have to take a test on. The rest of those, everything was done in the class for you to demonstrate it in your groups, and then you'd come back and give feedback. So consider something else, something to think about. It's starting to happen right now, and we've been seeing it for the last several years, dual certifications. And so that means that you've got your PMP, which is kind of like the Cadillac out here, and then you're backing it up with Agile and Scrum certifications. Now, this is for those of you who know you're wanting to use these certifications to help you market yourself to new jobs, okay? You might not need a dual certification to stay where you are. You think, I'm going to stay where I am, I'm not going anywhere. You might not need this, but those of you who are kind of the up and comers, you're in the industry and you think, man, I don't know where I'm wanting to go, but I want all the doors to open that I possibly can. You probably are going to want both. Get the PMP under your belt, pick up the Scrum certifications to kind of justify it. And then when you're sitting there in front of a HR person or a director who's looking at hiring new project managers, they're seeing both sides. And that's a real risk reducer in their head, because you can work on the Agile and Scrum side, or you can work on the traditional side. And as you know, we're walking from one door to the next, sometimes doing both with that. So something for you to consider, because that's becoming very popular. Dual certifications are defined as a candidate possessing both traditional and Agile. Organizations that are project driven want dual certifications. And of course, as you're noticing, your organization is probably shifting more and more towards projects. And so most organizations are, because it's so profitable with the least amount of workers to be able to get that done. So people want that dual certification and want to run things with projects. So be careful about obscure certifications from unknown certifying bodies. And when I say unknown, not because I didn't mention them today, because there's some other companies that are very good companies that are out here. Scrum.org is one of those. The great company, even though I didn't mention it here because I don't have one of their certifications. And so I wanted to talk about those that I absolutely knew about because I had taken the certification. But great organization. But so you're wanting to make sure that it's going to be a reputable place that you're doing. So what you're doing is balancing back and forth over this. So you're looking at what's my cost compared to what's my benefit for this. And so it's easy to think, okay, well, if I'm not having to take a test, then is it going to really benefit me? And many people have looked at these certifications and said, okay, you demonstrated it in class, you did an experiential test in place of a paper test. And I wouldn't have any problem with that, because the trainers were awesome. And the experience you had was awesome because you were able to meet and see from everyone else. But you are having to balance cost compared to the benefit of what you're going to get from this. Now, certifications for traditional project management, we know the project management professional is the Cadillac worldwide. Strength, it's globally recognized. It may not be suited for industries that are highly agile, because once again, it has its foundation in traditional, even though half of it now is going in the Agile direction. Now, I think you're going to see more and more Agile in it. Many people still look at this as a traditional project management certification. And so sometimes the Agile people might frown on it if that's all you have. The Prince2, which is not as popular here in the United States, but it is popular around the world. The strength of it, it provides a structured and process-driven approach. Weaknesses, it's not applicable in highly dynamic projects, but you can type in Prince2. Prince2 has been around a long time, just like the PMP has. And in European countries, and some of you who have a global projects, you might notice that the Prince2 certification in some countries is really of more higher caliber in those countries than what the PMP was. Certified Scrum Master's strength, Scrum framework used in Agile. It focuses on Scrum and not Agile as much. Agile Certified Professional. ACP is a good certification from PMI. I took that several years ago. It covers a broad range of Agile methods and practices. The weakness is it's not as recognized as some of your Scrum certifications. So the ACP, even though it's a good certification, and if you're kind of a PMI kind of person, you want to stick with them, it was a great certification. The test was not as hard as the PMP test. and it was very good. But the ACP just hasn't seemed to catch on like your Scrum certifications. They've exploded, and the ACP is just kind of trotting along here. So it might not be even recognized by the organization you're trying to work with or trying to change jobs or professions. They might not even know what it is because it's not as popular as some of the others that we've mentioned. Certified Scrum Product Owner, we talked about the strength that focuses on the product owner's role. The weakness focuses only on Scrum framework. And so a lot of times, once again, there's a lot of other agile and hybrid situations out there. SAFe is another organization, or SAFe is another certification. It's for Agilists. And so the strength is it focuses on scaling Agile. And so it practices for large organizations. And so the idea is that we're scaling and adjusting Agile to be able to fit the organization. Many organizations have jumped on the SAFe certification. Weaknesses, it might be too complex for a small project because you're looking at trying to scale it across, across the enterprise. And so, but a good thing to look at and see would it qualify it for you. And a lot of people are starting to pick this certification up. A Certified Scrum Professional Scrum Master, we referred to, focuses on providing advanced certification for the Scrum Master role. The certification might not be needed though by an organization because it's an advanced certification, but it is a good certification. Also, Certified Scrum Professional Product Owner, the focus on providing an advanced certification for the product owner role. But once again, you might not need that level of depth, but the certification might not be needed by your organization, could be the negative for that. CAPM, those of you on the Project Management Institute side who don't have 3 years of experience might consider picking up the Certified Associate Project Manager. Strength of this is an entry-level certification for project managers through PMI. And so if you have just a few months of project management experience, you'll take a boot camp, take a test, and be able to pass that test, then you're a CAPM. And it's kind of a stepping stone into the PMP. However, if you've got 3 years of experience, don't mess with this. Go ahead and go for the PMP because this is going to be a lighter test, but it's also looked at as a lighter certification. Nothing, anything wrong with it. If you don't have the years, then this is a great certification to give you something. But if you have 3 years PMP, if you have 3 years project experience, go for the PMP and go through that rigor and knock that sucker out. So the weakness of this is limited recognition. Many people don't know about the Certified Associate Project Management certification, but it also, once again, it's an entry-level certification. And many of you on these calls are not entry-level people, I know. The Certified Scrum Developer, CSD, strength, it focuses on the technical side of the project when working in Agile and Scrum. The weakness, it's very specialized to the Scrum developer and doesn't really focus on project managers. Its focus is more on the role of the Scrum developer. So anyway, so let's kind of pull all this together. So I just tried to wet your whistle with some of the certifications I was aware of. Just to kind of get you thinking. Some of you maybe have got your PMP and then you've got all the black belt certifications because that fits your organization. I get it. Those black belt certifications can be wonderful in certain industries and certain organizations. Nothing wrong with that. So you're picking up what makes sense for you for what you're trying to do with your industry. So any of your black belt certifications could be wonderful and used in that project setting for sure. So I've given you some of the websites to go back to help you a little bit, jumpstart you a little bit. Project Management Institute obviously is one that we're very anchored in and have been since 2006. And so Project Management Institute is constantly rolling out some of the some additional certifications. But one of the things I would really hit is that if you're a member there, get in there and take some of those free micro certifications, and that's going to at least put something on your resume for you. And the training was excellent. Scrum Alliance, that's your Scrum Alliance organization right there. And so that's the one I was talking about with those certifications, and most of them are 2 days, and you did it in the class to qualify. The Association of Project Management has certifications. This is out of UK. This organization has a following here in the United States and North America. It's not as big, obviously, as the PMP, but you will find people who are a professional project manager And so you'll see that on some of your resumes and some of your CVs. And as you look at it, maybe it doesn't sound just right. Well, some have actually gone to this organization to get their certification. It's a very reputable certification, very reputable organization. And some folks, that's the lineage they chose to go. Anything wrong with that. You can research them and see that. Scrum.org is another reputable organization. They have their own slate of certifications. I didn't pick any of those up, but very reputable. And then of course, Prince2 that I was just talking about, it's very common over on the UK side. This is the website that you'd be able to go to for them. Now, let me mention a couple of things about getting certified, okay? So determine which certification meets the current goal. And that way, that's going to make a difference on what you're going after. You can't get everything and you can't pick everything up. So decide what's going to be your one or two certifications that you're wanting to take the next steps to. And you start just kind of chunking them off. And as you start kind of tricking them off, you'll be surprised how fast you'll start picking some of those up. Select a reputable organization, verify the requirements match you, because once again, if you're just barely skirting in on a requirement, that's going to be frustrating if they reject you in the middle of this thing. Also, document the experience so it matches their application format of what they want. You're not just going to send a resume in and they love you so much they're going to give you that certification. That's not how it's going to work. You're going to have to build it in their application to fit the box their way. And so you got to look to see if you can do that. Download the test outline if there is a test and begin studying those topics. Determine if a boot camp would speed the preparation up. Many of these you're not going to have a test or need a boot camp, so you're going to be okay. And then take the exam and pass it. If it is an exam, set the thing up, take it, go for it, and talk to anybody who's taken the test recently, because most organizations change their tests. And then monitor and maintain the educational requirements so you don't have to take that stuff again and you don't have to recertify again. These certifications, you're going to want to carry them for a long period of time, but you have to monitor when they're coming up, because before you know it, you are already outdated. And we've had that happen with some of our PMP people. So they've been outdated. And so then they find themselves having to cram to get all the certification stuff in quickly. Now, let me talk about two things here, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Okay, so January, our webinar in January, we're going to be talking about harnessing continuous improvement, unveiling insights from lessons learned and retrospectives. So we're going to focus specifically on trying to be able to build some continuous improvement initiatives from the retrospectives and lessons learned components of our projects. And that's what we're supposed to be doing anyway. Sometimes it doesn't quite get to that point, but we're going to talk about some of that as well. The other thing is, in 2024, we have 3 free mastermind groups. Now, this is for people who think they might be interested in picking up the PMP. It's a 5-hour, it's 1 hour a day for a week, 5 days, 1 hour a day. It's 5 hours of training and input to help them kind of decide, is the PMP something that they want to do? They do a little practice test of 25 questions. They have a Excel sheet to look at their experience. We do a couple of Zoom calls to answer questions. So this is the person who's kicking tires to determine whether they want to do the PMP. In these classes, we give away 1 free boot camp, and so that's 3 people next year that we will be giving a free boot camp to, because in January we'll draw one in May and draw one in September. So 1 person gets a free boot camp. Also, the other thing is, everybody that's in that boot camp gets the lowest price on the PMP, which is $15.50. So it drops all the way down from the $22 or $28.50 that we have. Even the early birds, $19.50. So this drops you down to $15.50 if you attend the class. And so that puts you at the very lowest rate, and that's with the guarantee. So you get the $15.50 rate and the guarantee that you'll pass, or we pay for your second and third tests. So anyway, that's what we'll do for that. So that's our mastermind group. These three will be here. So if you have people that are thinking about the PMP, even if they don't know if they want to do it yet, and they'd be interested, put them in there. And then we'll be doing our virtual PMPs. We have them every other month. We will start in February. This is only February and April, but we have them every other month. So we will start our virtual PMP exam preps. We have a 97% first-time passing rate, which is just unheard of. And so we have a 99% out of 3, but a 97% first-time passing rate. So So it's been really, really positive. The passing rate has gotten super strong in the last 2 years. And so you come, if you've got somebody who's struggling with taking the test, these would be good boot camps. I teach all of these virtuals, so that when they're in there, and so these are two of the 6 that we will have. All right, so let me stop for just a second. I've got a couple of minutes here, and I'm going to open this up where I can see you a little bit. And so I'll answer some questions if I can. And so about certification, maybe I might not know about your certification, but I'll answer if you have a question. So anybody have a question about our topic today? Hey, thank you. Thank you, Leah. Any questions from anybody? All right, so if you're a member of PMI, take that generative AI micro certification for free. You'll love it. And so it'll be very interesting to you to be able to see what's the potential of what's going to be happening in the next 18 months, 3 years. So any questions?
Keith, I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
I also just passed the boot camp, passed the test, took the boot camp. Phenomenal. Could not have passed the test, I think, without your boot camp. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to send me a bill, aren't you, for that advertisement, aren't you? Thank you. Thank you so much.
So with that, having to get the PDUs to maintain that PMP, I'm also intrigued about one of the other certificates. How do I know if the PDUs overlap so that I don't have to go get the 60 and then the additional 30 or 60 for this other certificate?
What do you mind saying what the other certificate is you're thinking about doing?
The PMI CP for construction professional in the built environment.
Okay. Anything you do under PMI is going to align. So any PDU you're turning in for, well, I say any, there's a handful of things that they sometimes will frown on, but generally anything you're doing for your PMP, if you've got another certification like my ACP with them, it goes right in there for that as well. And so when I turn it in, you're just going to turn it in and then they evaluate it. And if they ever turn it down, challenge it and explain what it was. You might have to send an outline of what you studied or something like that. But 99% of the time they take it for both certifications.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the advertisement again, too.
That one's on the house this time.
All right, good enough. Anybody else have a question? Couple more things in chat. Let me just.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Hey, so I've got a close family member that's interested in getting a PMP, but she has not really been in a whole lot of traditional like project, I guess, vocational project work.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard you talking about the I forget exactly what it was called, but I'll call it PMP Light.
Yeah.
So how stringent is the work log that you have to I guess demonstrate or record in order to qualify for that certification?
The CAPM is the one you're talking about, Certified Associate Project Manager.
Mm-hmm.
It's real light. I mean, just a few months of experience and is all you're having to fill out. It really has been. They purposely have made it very very light in that particular case. However, let me mention this: that just because she's not had professional projects, if she has run 3 years worth of projects, either on her own business. Even personally, you can turn some of those in. We had a gentleman who was who ran city soccer leagues, and so his job really didn't deal with projects because he was so high up in the company. But he did soccer leagues for the city, and he did it as projects and had run it as a volunteer for the local city soccer teams, and had done this for several years. And he was able to turn 100% of that in for his projects and qualify. And he wasn't paid a dime for it. It was all his volunteer stuff, but he had done it as a project. So so if she's got some personal stuff that would make up those 36 months that she'd be able to document, and by document you don't have to have all the all the PowerPoint. All the project plans and all that kind of stuff. She just has to be able to know when they're starting and finishing, and that would be it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions from anybody?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go for it.
Well, I was especially to this gentleman that just asked you a question. I've been doing projects my entire career and did not get PMP certification until 3 years ago at your suggestion. And it's the best thing that happened to me because it helped me more clearly look at everything I've ever done in the past with some kind of a structure that was a lot more useful than me picking and choosing and trying to roll around in some of these situations without some clarity.
Mhm.
So I would urge anyone to go ahead and take your boot camp because I did, and it was very successful for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on here. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. And so I'll see you guys back in January. Okay. Bye, guys. Have a great holiday season. See ya. Bye now.